Patrolling the Siva Valley war zone makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
Oh, hey, he'll respond here in a second.
God damn it, I needed that uniform! He
Bro,
didn't even let me hit
literally
record! You son of a... Don't get too close, don't get too close! Troops, I saw a bear here. Today, we're talking about Update 60 for Foxhole. This update brings a lot of server-side improvements, a lot of balance changes, refining of certain mechanics, a few small redesigns for weapons and vehicles, and overall some quality of life improvements. First up are the map changes. There aren't as many, but the ones we do have are huge. Like, some of the biggest objects in the game kind of huge. The main one revolves around Silicon Shelf. Caviltown is gone. It has been replaced with Breakertown, a sort of half-frozen over fishing village. And just south of it is the ship. Now, I'll let you discover the deeper lore yourself, and there's plenty of it on this ship. However, I'll go over some of the more obvious stuff and talk about the geographic features related to it. First off, there once was a bridge between Hoarfrost Relic Base and Southwind Relic Base, but that was clearly destroyed when the ship plowed through it. The ruins on either side of the ship also sported a chain between them, indicating that this was once a harbor chain of some sort, to keep ships in or out. Lore has it that Silicon Shelf used to be some sort of lagoon or inlet that housed the Great Fleet at some point. But to me, clearly this ship was used as a sacrificial lamb to block the harbor, and afterwards, the rest of the shelf silted up. It actually quite looks like an alluvial delta now, if you think about it. As for the ship itself, there's multiple segments to it. A bridge leading up to the upper decks from the south side, ramps at the fore end of the ship, larger storage bays towards the aft, and plenty of rooms in between. And you can climb all the way up to the top as well. Just don't stare at the crow's nest too long. It's a little eerie if you ask me. Oh, and don't forget to check out the market while you're here. Spend some of your hard-earned caps. Other than that, Morgan's Crossing and Weather Expanse have both had their borders with Silicon Shelf revamped a little bit to match with the new environments. And also, in the Deadlands, climbing restrictions have been applied to certain rocks north of Abandoned Ward, and an Abandoned Ward point of interest has been updated. One other note is that the southern regions, Veli, now have a new structure, the Velian Temple. This is the counterpart to the Sivan churches in the north. It does count as a garrison house that will fire on enemies, and it looks pretty cool on the inside. It's even got its own reflection pool. Now, if only you could set up a campfire in here and turn it into a hot tub. Another couple of map changes include the icon legend has been reorganized to keep more similar icons close to each other. The map tooltip has also been updated with more accurate and relevant information. Additionally, there is a new type of map post, the facility map post. This is useful for indicating certain types of publicly accessible facilities. These facility posts display information about facilities within a radius of 100 meters from their center. So for example, between these two facility posts you see here, the one closer inland doesn't display ships that are producible at these facilities because, well, it's too far inland, whereas the one closer to the water and where the dry dock is, does. This takes a lot of guesswork out of figuring out which facility can produce what items for you. And just the idea of having public facilities have a dedicated post makes it a lot easier to open up logistics and facility usage for a lot more players. These types of posts also last longer on the map than other types of map posts. Now to some UI changes. Vehicles and their inventory contents restored after anti-griefing measures now produce a log in the region events log and relevant stockpile logs. There's also now region event logs. These track friendly damage to vehicles, players, and structures, so you can see if there's any consistent names on there causing trouble for your faction. Players who switch regions or log off are also now displayed on the F1 menu for longer and indicate what they've done, whether they logged out or transferred region. You also now have access to an extra menu item, allowing you to access any player's Steam profile. For the text chat, there's now a chat settings header on the menu, but more importantly, the tooltip has been updated and also gives you the list of commands that you can use in text chat. And for your equipment loadouts, there's a few new options. You can now select to auto-submit the starter kit, so the hammer, the pistol, and the pistol ammo. And as well, you can edit loadout assembly modifiers on existing loadouts. This is pretty much what I asked for a while back in one of my suggestion series episodes, and I'm glad submitting the pistol and hammer can be automated. For squads, there's a new option for squad leaders. You can assign other members as squad officers. What this allows them to do is take over as squad lead if you decide to log off. That way it's less likely to end up in the hands of a person who's away from keyboard, or someone who might not have a mic or would prefer not to be squad lead. It also gives those officers a nice little badge so they can feel special. While you're aiming down sights, you can now rotate the camera using the middle mouse button. Previously, you could only achieve this by doing it with the comma or the period keys on the keyboard, but now the middle mouse button does it too. First up for the new weapons is the Colonial 30-250 Tisiphone Field Cannon. And with a name like that, I'm waiting for Megara and Electo coming in future updates. This is a 250mm field cannon. This will be the Colonial counterpart to the Balfour Falconeer 250mm. It's got a crew of 2, driver and gunner, holds 3 shells in its inventory, has a minimum distance of 6 meters, and a maximum distance of 30 meters, which is a few meters further than the Warden field gun. However, the Tisiphone has no side-to-side tilt on its gun, meaning you have to reposition the entire gun if you want to aim left or right. And just like the Falconeer, it can also be hitched up to the back of trucks for fast transport. For the Wardens, they're getting a new anti-tank rocket launcher in the form of the Chronicles. This is an anti-tank rocket-propelled grenade launcher, so the Wardens can finally use that ammo type. I think its closest comparison on the Colonial side would be the Bane, since you can't use it standing up. You have to either be crouched or prone. And the ATRPGs and the launcher itself are quite heavy, so you're going to be pretty limited in the number of shells you can carry. It goes without saying that this is great for taking on vehicles. There's also a set of new weapons for both factions, in the form of the Legion Vexillum, and the Wardens have their War Ensign. These are tripod-mounted flags for the purposes of propaganda. It's basically just propaganda. There is no actual battlefield utility to it, but it will certainly raise the morale of the troops around you. As long as you don't lose it to the enemy, of course. Just be glad there's no announcer associated with it.
Flag stolen. Flag dropped.
Speaking of vehicles, the Type C Charon has been reworked. Its top speed has been increased by 8%, its turning rate has been greatly improved as well. More importantly, armored paneling has been added, both to the front driver's seat and to the sides, giving the crew a little bit more protection. It'll still be pretty vulnerable from behind, but forward-facing, it's got excellent defenses now. The Nemesis disable threshold has increased from 20% to 30% of its max health. Also, it's called a CAT. It's the Colonial Assault Tank. For shotguns, both faction-specific shotguns have had their damage fall-off mechanics aligned with other small arms weaponry. The Colonial Dragonfly has had its shot size increased by 11%. Its new effective range is 20 meters and its max range is 30 meters, while the Warden Pillory Scattergun has had its effective range changed to 10 meters and its maximum range is now 25 meters. A previous facility, the Infantry Arms Factory, the one that could produce uniforms and melee weapons, has been reworked. It has now been renamed the Infantry Kit Factory. It's still able to produce all the uniforms, however, the melee weapons, like the clubs and daggers, have been moved to regular factories. Early War is going to be fun. But this Infantry Kit Factory also comes with a new modification, the Heavy Ammo Workshop, allowing you to produce munitions like 40, 68, and 30mm AP RPGs, ARC RPGs, regular RPGs, and Tremolo grenades, that sort of thing, using construction materials and explosive materials. A few other new features include added a cooldown for requesting an invite to a squad and for receiving an invite to a squad. Critically wounded players can now be submitted to locked ambulances, whilst players carrying other wounded players can now vault, such as out of trench lines. Some gameplay changes include simulated character movements have been reworked and should result in visibly smoother movements for other characters you see on screen. Stacked liquid items now properly contribute their weight to the weight of the vehicle they're in. The BMS 4-man stacker can no longer be demolished whilst carrying a shippable item. Enemy static bases such as town halls or relic bases can no longer be repaired. That is to say, by you, the enemy can still repair them. Trailer vehicles will no longer accumulate mud. Items such as windsocks, listening kit, havoc charges and detonators, and Hydra's Whispers can now be added to stockpiles such as material pallets, material transfer stations, BMS line runners, and storage room stockpiles. Item stockpiles in transfer stations can now be assembled at an accelerated speed. Shotguns will no longer hit vehicles that you are riding in and firing out of. The dry dock and water pumps now require a valid build tool to have their build sites placed. Some balance changes include added multi-item slots. This slot can hold a stack of predefined items that can be viewed in the slot's tooltips. The RR3 Stolen, Tanker, and Dune Fuel Runner 2D reduced from 25 inventory slots to one multi-item slot that can hold 35 of any liquid. The Concrete Mixer input limit has been reduced from 32,000 to 2,400. The output limit has been reduced from 1,600 to 120. The Rooster Tumble Box listening kit capacity has been reduced from 30 down to 20 to be consistent with similar items, and its sandbag capacity has been increased from 32 to 48. The H10 Pelicus and Niska Mark II Blinder gunner stability is now similar to the 68mm gunner of the Silverhand Mark IV. Improve the carrying power of the R12 Salus ambulance and R12B Salva flame truck, Dune Responder E3, and Dune Dowsing Engine 3R. These are to coincide with the liquid stacking calculations. And the green ash crate size has increased from 5 up to 10. A few other changes include the aim line when players are occupying garrisoned houses and static bases has now been polished. There's been a small tooltip added to the small gauge train cars, noting that the passenger seats can submit items to build sites or stockpiles. There are new animations for certain seats operating ballast and sonar and the periscope for the Naki and AC-B Trident submarines. Trailers now appear next to one another in stockpiles. There's a new unique animation for sledgehammers when crouching or proning, so they don't make you look like you're carrying mortars. A thank you callout has been added to the callouts menu. Now we just need a sorry to make this a truly Canadian experience. The crater visuals for prepared minefields has been improved. There's also been improved explosion visual effects for the AT mine and the Crow's Foot mine. A note in the tooltip for the BMS scrap hauler now marks that it can disarm enemy mines. There's music that's been added to the credit screen. The Foxhole build site and collisions have been updated. Vehicle tier and reservability status is now visible when interacting with structures with said vehicle. Several build menu icons have been updated to improve their quality and consistency. Added a unique icon for facility recipe information to distinguish it from a help tooltip. Construction material and process construction materials descriptions have been updated. and there's been some improved world resource mine collisions. I won't go over these changes individually, but there's been a lot of server optimization and stability changes included with this patch. And as always, there was some bug fixes along with this patch, but I'll leave that for the patch notes down below. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest Foxhole updates. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to Slicken Shelf to visit that new ship. I saw a vault suit in there somewhere, I swear, and I'm using all the caps I have in storage to buy it. And as always, good luck, keep your heads down, and stay in your foxholes. Bear out.
Yep.
Just wait for that reticle to be fully dialed in. You got it. Nice.
Got him. He's down.
Good shot. I saw that one.
Sniper's down. Sniper's down.